Why radical? We build race cars. We race iconic tracks. We set lap records. We build friendships.
3, 4.
We create champions. We make racers.
It was hard to get a clean lap in at times, and here you go. Here's a good way to tell if they are pro or amateur. You're going to see a couple of little giveaway signs here. Mainly look for the highlighting of the car. That's something to keep in mind as well. 2 heat races today as well.
Yeah, indeed. Plenty of racing to come here. 2 races, the first of which is 15 minutes and beginning very imminently. Then, after a 5-minute warm-up, we move to a 20-lap race. It's 10 laps for the first, 20 laps for the second, and the top 10 finishers from race 1 are inverted. We should go through the grid before they get going here. Racim Fazui, he qualified on pole for race 1 at the previous round of the series, and he's done exactly the same here, Zippy.
Oh, absolutely. Racim, very much an accomplished driver indeed. And not surprising to see him at the front of the grid with Matt Adams. That's a gentleman who actually did very well last round as well for the Motor Racing Academy, no less. That's run by Suelio Almeida. Clay Morris takes 3rd with Mitchell Green there in 4th. Rust Racing represented both here and in the BiS F1600 Championship. Cade Middleton, he takes 5th with Ozzy Milwain. That is one of your previous winners, ladies and gentlemen. He's there in 6th. As we have a look at 7th now, it's going to be Arnaud Gness. Now, he's definitely a seasoned veteran, as is a man alongside him of Andrew Hardman in 8th. And as we have a look at 9th, yes, ladies and gentlemen, Diego Zuccarelli alongside, again, the one of the previous winners here at BiS, Zachary Buchanan.
Yeah, that's your top 10. Marshall Crocker Jr., who won the secondary class in round 1 at Sebring, will start 11th alongside Nelson Mason, with George Griffiths and Jonathan Wager 13th and 14th. Our 8th row of the grid being Tyson Balboa and Joey Haynes. Then Brady Clapham and Daniel Blanco 17th and 18th, with Robert Ridgway and Joshua Peters rounding out our top 20. After that, we have Swindells and O'Hyan on the 11th row, Broomhead and Gritsko 23rd and 24th, Kenny Reedman and John Benwell 25th and 26th. Our final 2 rows of the top 30 being Kevin Norris and Matthew Murphy, as well as Tyler Scarelli and Kenton Young. And we'll go through the rest of our grid here as the cars move away to begin their first race of the night, already on the back straight, coming up to the famed Wall of Champions at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Zippy, Racim Fazui is warming up those tyres as best he possibly can, but this start is imminent and the action is ready to start.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely going to be an absolute belter of a race. And certainly Montreal, a very challenging circuit indeed. I'm certainly hoping to see a nice, clean race start. But don't get me wrong as well, these guys are going to be fighting for everything that they can. It's good as well. C.R. Reed, ladies and gentlemen, just seen that name flash across the scene. He was my iRacing mentor. So if you ever experienced me on track, it's that guy you have to blame for it. He's a good part of it. But you can see these guys just coming to the end of the formation lap. And green, 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 off they go. Racim Fazui doing everything he can. Already they're trying to get into single file side by side in the second row as they head round turn 1.
Yeah, nice clean start from the front of the field. Fazui is already away. Matt Adams, championship leader, coming into this round in 2nd place. And Mitchell Green managing to fend off Clay Morris there for 3rd. That's a traitor position there for the final spot on the podium, coming here around the first lap. Tyson Balbosa getting a good run in the background over George Griffiths as drivers come down to the real twisty section of the lap. Then you have to make sure that you get the acceleration out here. It's a lot more open than you expect the run onto the back stretch, I suppose you could call it, here at Montreal. And then you're on the brakes hard for this fast chicane. Be careful of the white anti-cut curbs, and also be careful not to run too far off the racetrack. You'll get a slowdown from there, and then it's down to the hairpin. This is a beautiful section of racetrack to watch racing at. Got to be very careful to get on the brakes in time and not run into the back of your rival. It looks like a very orderly and clean start from the front of the field anyway, but in the middle, Zippy, it looks like someone's already had a problem at the hairpin.
Well, from what I can see, looking at the timing screen, Tyler Scarelli, he has dropped 16 positions, so certainly an incident has indeed occurred there. I'm not quite sure what happened just yet, as these guys are going 2 wide, almost 3 wide there. I'm trying to work out exactly who it is, but oh no, we've got a spinner, and I believe that's Robert Ridgway there. To go through the chicane, it looked like Ridgway just trying to rejoin. There's somebody behind him as well. We'll find out very shortly. So that is the number 11 car. That is actually where they're gone. That is indeed Robert Ridgway, so he's trying to get back on track. You see Lou Moretti iRacing there is absolutely swarming around him. Lots of action happening here on track.
Yeah, indeed. Only took a little bit for everything to move on forward, but oh lordy, what on earth is going on there? That's the 91 of Christian Gritzko that was pirouetting around. Goodness me, it's all gone wrong there in the midfield. Got one of the Britannia cars involved as well. It seems like Broomhead and Blanco were the ones who came together to start all of that. Blanco was already damaged, but he ended up running into a recovering Broomhead.
Well, as I have a look at the timing screen there, Reese, I can see that it disappeared. George Griffiths, he's dropped 30 positions. Daniel Blanco, 26. Broomhead, 22. And Kenny Reedman as well. That's another legit Radical driver. He's dropped 21 positions.
Yeah, goodness gracious me. That is massive. It looks like Broomhead just lost it all by himself coming out of turn 2 on my end. He was battling with Joshua Peters at the time, and then Daniel Blanco could do nothing to avoid Broomhead as he bounced off the wall. Well, we'll have to turn our attention to that later because there's going to be another change for 4th spot here. Cade Middleton, sorry, this is for 4th and 5th position. Goodness gracious, things are getting mighty close here, and we're only on lap 3 of 10.
Oh, certainly, and you can see Ozzy Milwain, he's made his way up to P6, and not surprisingly so, the man has pace, and he's proven that before. Again, currently actually holding steady, started P6 in P6. You see a little bit of a flash there from Cade Middleton. He's currently sitting in the 5th spot. Milwain right behind him with Arnaud Ganest right behind him as well. Certainly, Hardman not far back, Buchanan there in P9, and Nelson Mason as well. Another new name here, certainly for me in BIS. He's currently rounding out his top 10.
Yeah, biggest gainers in the field, mostly drivers in the midfield. I'm seeing drivers like Kenton Young, for example, up in 23rd there, up 7 positions from where he started. So there's been some beneficiaries from the initial stage of this race. We're still waiting on how things will develop here over the final 7 laps of the race. Middleton trying his best to stay in the fight here with Clay Morris for 4th, but it looks like Clay is right on it here. Remember, Morris started 3rd, so he's got a lot of one-lap pace.
Oh, certainly, but it isn't just 1 lap to go, and I don't know why Cade Middleton is constantly flashing, and I think he's trying to get a message over to Clay Morris. I'm just not sure what it is at this point. Certainly, they do not appear to be rocking the same team. Perhaps a little bit of distraction tactics going on as he nearly brushes the wall right there. I believe if I'm not mistaken, that would be the Wall of Champions, would it not, Reese?
Yes, it would. Becoming famous for multiple very highly regarded drivers making mistakes out of the chicane and crashing into that wall. It's not much in the way of runoff for sure. Well, there's a bit more runoff around the other parts of the circuit, but not a huge amount. This is, of course, a temporary circuit, and it's built more like a street circuit than a permanent racetrack here. So you have to mitigate the risk somehow. You got to really manage your pace, but there's a lot of room for fantastic moves.
Oh, absolutely. And certainly as well, in terms of forgiveness, there isn't really much available. Certainly the runoff here is maybe half a car whip, and if you do happen to get it wrong, you will very quickly meet the wall, and it doesn't necessarily have to just be the Wall of Champions. Any will suffice. But ladies and gentlemen, we're currently on board with Arnaud Ganest, certainly a driver we've seen here before at BIS, have fantastic pace. He's currently sat in P7, trying to chase down Ozzy Milwain. We've got almost a pack of 4. That's a little bit of a slide there from Clay Morris. Is this going to open up the door for Cade Middleton in the 555 machine?
Oh, okay. Well, Cade Middleton taking great advantages. That's, spinner in the background. That looks like Nelson Mason. And Brady Clapham also had a problem at the hairpin behind there as well. We'll see if the move is made here for Cade Middleton. Contact with Morris coming into the final chicane. Bounces across the curb. They almost avoid running into the Wall of Champions, but Middleton was recovering. And here come the other cars into the wall. Oh, no. Not much space for those kinds of moves down the front stretch here, and Middleton's going to drop down the order, if not outright retire.
Well, definitely, if we get a replay of that up very shortly, it's something I would be very keen to see. Not exactly sure what happened. It looked like he kind of sent it a little bit towards the chicane, got a bounce off the wall, and things just ricocheted from there. Good job by Buchanan to actually manage to get around that, and that's certainly gone and shifted the order a little bit right now. Jonathan Wager, he's now moved his way into the P8 position, up 6 points right now. Let's have a quick look at this replay. So here you can see he gets a little bit, bottoms out on the curve, bounces off the wall, ricochets a little bit, and then there's basically a gap, the 3-1-2 machine. Now that's Arno Ganes, tries to go for a gap that honestly just isn't there, collects Cade in the process, and certainly something that maybe the stewards will want to take a look at.
Yeah, Ozzy Milwain was involved in that one as well. You know, the two yellow and black cars behind were carrying all of their momentum after both Morris and Middleton were compromised by that trouble through the final chicane. Well, regardless, we'll see what they can do coming towards the end. Genest and Milwain are carrying damage and suffering in terms of straight line speed. I'm already seeing Milwain here dropping as he's been passed by Hardman and Buchanan. Man, all it takes is a little bit of damage, and unfortunately, that is the way things end up going.
Certainly as well. These cars are, don't get me wrong, they are pretty robust. I've seen them in real life. The Radical can actually take a surprising amount of contact and still keep going. But certainly, you know, it is a car where aerodynamics does play a part of that fact. And, you know, if you do pick up a little bit of damage here, you will notice it, especially down the straights. And also as well, if it came to like tire wear and fuel, which shouldn't be a problem in a 10-lap sprint race, but certainly in the longer race we have coming later on today, something to keep in mind, keeping the car clean can have a huge effect on those outcomes.
Yeah, certainly can. And, you know, it's all about survival in a league like this. I mean, we were at Sebring last round, a track that, yes, is quite old school and has barriers pretty close at times, but it's certainly a lot more space for errors than at Montreal. And we saw how chaotic that night was. So the drivers, I think, will be driving with their eyes on stalks, just looking for any incidents ahead of them and hoping that they don't get involved in something. That's going to be the key to success here. Ozzy Milwain trying his best to chase down Jonathan Wager, but you can see already he's losing ground, he's losing speed. That damage to the front means he cannot match anyone down the straights.
Absolutely. I'm looking at the timing screen as you say that, and usually in a draft here, it will be very noticeable. As I see Matthew Mailman, he's had an incident as well. But if you're already losing pace on the guy ahead of you and you're in the draft, you 110% have damage. So Ozzy Milwain at this point, he's got Diego Zuccarelli right behind him. It was about 5 tenths per second, and that's closed down to 4 tenths, 3 tenths, 2 tenths per second. I'm expecting to see Zuccarelli make a move pretty quickly. He's right behind Milwain, and there you go. There he is. We're looking out the back of the number 14 machine. So don't get me wrong, we know Milwain is at a disadvantage now. He has damage, and the question is, can Zuccarelli capitalize on that? Can he slingshot his way past and move up into P8? The gap behind Zuccarelli, currently 1.8 seconds, so they do have room to play, do have room to make this battle stand.
Yeah, they do, but keep an eye out for Zuccarelli to start gaining momentum here. This is going to be a magnificent run from the red machine behind here. He's gaining at the end of the straight, but he's not quite close enough to get it done down here at the chicane. It'll all be about the exit from the hairpin. Milwain able to continue from that incident. Unfortunately, you couldn't say the same for Arnaud Genest. He's managed to make his way out of the pits now, has Arnaud, but he's still missing the front bodywork of his car. So I don't know if the result is going to come for these guys in the first race anyway.
Well, certainly it is something to keep in mind. If you've got a damaged car at this point, all you can do is hold on. You see Zuccarelli absolutely blitzing his way past Milwain, completely effortless, but you can see just in the gap behind him. So it was 1.8 seconds back to Marshall Crocker Jr. before that gap down to 1.3. So at this point, Milwain is going to be stuck on a conveyor belt, and you can see even more cars behind. It's Joshua Peters back in P11. He's a little bit further back there as well. There you go, there's Joshua Peters. Another newcomer actually to BiS, certainly not a name I've not seen too much of, but great to see as well, not just the returning drivers, but the new drivers here as well. As I understand, Doug Meadows may have had an accident.
Yeah, man, there's quite a few drivers who have had some kind of problem here today. I'm going to try and have a look and see what happened to Meadows. I mean, he's already stuck. He's still stuck in the wall. Looks like he might have lost the rear coming out of one of the chicanes, and he's just had trouble getting going. There he is there. He's finally managed to get the car rolling. It was just a solo incident from him there. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like anyone else is involved.
Definitely fortunate. I did actually attend the test session here, and don't get me wrong, I used to compete in this series, and it's fair to say it takes a lot of skill to pilot these cars at the speed these guys are doing. Like, I got to hand it, some of the drivers here as well, they are not the youngest of people, for lack of better words. We see Doug Meadows getting past. I believe that was lap traffic, though, at this point. If he's had an accident, he's probably going to be sitting pretty far back in the grid. But certainly, some of the drivers that are certainly seeing here in this field, I know CR Reed, I don't think he actually ended up taking to the start. He's a little bit more of a senior gentleman, and I'm going to enjoy saying this, as is Richard Swindell, certainly not the youngest driver on the grid. And Swindell's actually currently sat up in 14th place, up, I believe, 7 spots.
Yeah, nice job from Swindells. To see if he can hold off Joey Haynes behind him here. Tyson Balbosa and Nelson Mason traded positions ahead, and I think that little puff of smoke is a telltale sign of the reason.
Well, that could indeed be it. These cars will let you lock up those brakes, and certainly not something you want to be doing. But Swindell's doing a very, very good job. Certainly, Joey Haynes, a BiS regular, not just here, but in the F1600 series as well. And Swindell's is really going to have to work hard to keep Haynes behind him. Thankfully, he does have a car ahead of Nelson Mason. Not quite in the draft. I believe actually there must have been a laps car just there, but that's Nelson Mason ahead in that white machine. And certainly, if he can stay on the back of that, that could help him stay ahead of not just Haynes, but Matthew Murphy as well, Caven Norris. These guys are circling in fast, trying to make their way to the top 10.
Yeah, it's that 10th position that's really going to count here, because that'll turn into pole position for race 2. Currently, Milwain is the one in 10th, and he is still dropping pace ahead of these guys. There's a pass for second, meanwhile, side by side, but Matt Adams and Mitchell Green, and they just avoid running into each other and into the wall of champions coming out of the final corner. So that's Mitchell Green up into second. Matt Adams, who'd held that position for so long, now has to try and fight back here on the last lap of the race.
Well, certainly the gloves are going to be off if he was going to try and make a tactical decision as when to get ahead. That is now thoroughly out the window. Don't get me wrong, I mean, that could still come into play. There is quite a decent amount of straight after the start-finish straight. You can see Adams there taking a lot of curb, almost brushing that wall, using as much of the track as he can. And in terms of iRating, both himself and Green very similarly matched. 48.90 against Matt Adams, 45.63, but certainly at the level of competition where the numbers are very finite.
All right, let's see if there's any run here for Matt Adams coming out of the chicane here. A lot more aggressive curb usage from Mitchell Green there. He avoids the slowdown. There's no catching Racine Fazui, though, out in front by 3 seconds. I mean, what a run it has been from Racine Fazui. A fantastic bounce back from round 1 at Sebring. All he's got is 2 corners left to negotiate, and he's been very aggressive at the chicane here. Hopefully he avoids the wall of champions here on the final lap, and he'll be able to get his championship back on track.
Well, speaking of Racine Fazui, I do believe he actually legitimately works on these cars and coaches drivers who pilot them. So fair play. The fact that he is on the P1 spot is in no way surprising to me. Absolutely fantastic stuff. But it's going to come down to the line. Adams has got it.
Yeah, I think Green might have gotten a slowdown coming out of the final chicane there. I was looking at his curb usage, and it seems like he overstepped the mark a little bit. He had to get on the brakes and serve a slowdown penalty in the final few hundred meters.
Well, speaking of which, it looked like there was a battle as well going on towards the end between Milwain and Peters able to snake that top 10 spot. Milwain is not going to be happy with that. 0.005 of a second in it. Battles happening throughout the field. It looks like Matthew Murphy and Brady Clapham, they're still going to be going at it as well. Just a couple attempts between them. John Bembley and Robert Ridgway a little bit further back. And as I have a look as well, Kenton Young and Wyatt Cormier, these guys are fighting as well. I've got to say, the 57 car, loving the paint job. Bright blue, bright yellow. Nick Pollard Pollard, he's trying to get an extra position as well, not quite able to get it done as we're rocking back through the field, the 55 versus the 24. He's running out of time as they're coming up to the final chicane. Pollard going on the offensive, and that looks like, yeah, he definitely backed out of that there.
Oh, no.
Absolutely. Oh, dear.
All right, well, Pollard, unfortunately, getting the slowdown himself there right at the very end. Well, a very interesting race to start off the night. And race 2 is still yet to come. It looks like everyone has crossed the line, Zippy, so we can go through our initial results.
Well, let's take a quick peek there. Definitely a fun race. Certainly, I didn't see anything that was particularly dirty, to say the least. So, just really the incident, the free four-way incident involving, on against. But let's take a look here at the results. So, Racine Esports, Racine Vasiri, absolutely dominating that win in a very, very respectable first place. Matt Adams takes second for the Motor Racing Academy, 3.7 seconds back, with Mitchell Green for Rust Racing there closing out your podium. Clay Morris takes fourth for Radical Canada. Fifth is Andrew Hardman. Sixth, Jonathan Wager, number 10 year iSports driver there. Zachary Buchanan, that is one of your winners from last season. He takes seventh with Diego Zuccarelli in eighth. Marshall Crocker Jr., a newcomer here, he's there in ninth with Joshua Peters in 10th.
Yeah, flip that top 10, and that's your starting order for race 2. The rest of results just up on your screen at the moment as we reflect on what could be a fantastic race 2 on its way. There's plenty of clouds over the circuit, but don't see any rain on the horizon, so I think it will be very safe in regards of that. And now that I remember, the Radical is not rain enabled yet, so we'll have to wait and see on that. Gritzko rounding out the top 20, recovering after his very unfortunate runnings there in the second couple of laps. And then we move on through the top 30. All of these drivers will be looking for some extra gains in race 2.
Oh, absolutely. And certainly it is a very big grid here as you see the 31st to 40th position. That's just how many cars we have on us. Ganesk obviously getting caught out by that incident there. Cade Middleton as well. I'm not quite sure what happened to Kenny Reedman. Certainly not the result he was looking for. Steve Sutherland, he actually made up quite a few positions. At least he did earlier. He must have fallen back again. And then all the way down to 47. Banshee Racing CRE. I did not see him take to the grid today.
No, we did not. Well, before we get into thanking our sponsors for this round, we should have a look at what happened at the Radical World Finals in Abu Dhabi just over the weekend. Fantastic little highlights package we're about to watch here for the Real World Radical Cup.
The Radical World Finals at Yas Marina. The green flag's flying, and already, look, what is that? 5, 6, 7, 8 wide. Comes off into the ball. Racing hard and fast.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. Certainly, absolutely fantastic to see that footage there from the World Championship with the Radicals. Certainly, it's good to see. Not only that, we have Robert Burgess here today, who literally won the 1340 class. Very much jealous, but very much impressed with the man as well. Certainly, if you want to sell a product, it certainly shows if you can go and win the World Championship with that. The man obviously knows exactly what he's doing. So top stuff there. And again, congratulations there to Rob Burgess. Huge accomplishment. Certainly the guys who drive these cars know how to use them, and certainly, to compete on that kind of level is absolutely incredible. But we're going to do a quick little bit of shout out here to our sponsors today. So if you're looking for a Radical and you want to feel the thrill of Radical racing firsthand, contact Robert Burgess at Radical Canada to buy your own car or arrange a rental and drive into the excitement of Radical competition. contact Rob Birches to get started. You can see his contact details there. Certainly, definitely worth doing. I strongly suggest it. And not only that, the Radical Cup Canada is the FEL series is actually growing as well. We're getting notifications about that almost weekly at this point, weekly, daily, constantly seeing it on my feed, so keep that in mind. Speaking of FEL, Motorsports is a premier real-world racing organization that brings thrilling, high-stakes competition to tracks across Canada, supporting and showcasing talented drivers in a professional motorsport series. Much like BiS, FEL provides a platform for racers to push their limits, recently announcing the exciting addition of the legendary Trois Rivières event to their 2025 calendar. For more information and to stay updated on the 2025 season, visit FEL's website. Reese, I believe you've got one more.
Indeed, M-Zone is a trusted brand in automotive care and maintenance, providing top-quality products designed to keep vehicles running smoothly and looking their best. Known for their performance-driven solutions, M-Zone shares BIS's passion for excellence, making them a perfect real-world counterpart in the automotive space. Discover M-Zone's full range of products and elevate your vehicle care by visiting their website, mzone.ca. Well, big thanks to all the sponsors who helped to get this show off the ground here in the BiS Radical Cup Canada. Goodness me, race 2 is upon us, Zippy. We've got our full field out here once again with the top 10 inverted. And, well, the big drama happened on the race 2 start in round 1. But as you mentioned in the run-up to the show, the rules have been slightly changed around that.
Yeah, certainly, and don't get me wrong, it happens. Any racing series can have that. Certainly, just thinking off the top of my head, the runoffs, for example, we did see some very interesting race starts, especially if you have like a full course caution, full course yellows. Certainly, the restart can then indeed cause a restart. You know, it's certainly nothing that doesn't happen both in the sim world and in the real world. And you know, it's certainly, there's a lot of people very keen, very motivated to get moving. And certainly for some of us drivers, the race start is where you make the most of your positions up. But let's try quickly see if we can make our way through the grid.
Indeed. Now, the idea, the standing start, sorry, the rolling start that we're doing here is basically, as we go through that top 10, Joshua Peters on pole after finishing in 10th, and behind this inverted top 10, pretty much everyone is the same position they finished in. They're going to roll off single file, and then they get into formation after the hairpin down the back stretch. It's to be driven at pace car speed. They've got to navigate the chicane and get back in line, and then there's a karting start. The drivers need to drive through the grid markings on the start-finish straight. That means when the green flag flies in iRacing, we're not necessarily going at that point. So keep an eye out for that as our leaders are coming up to the chicane now.
Well, certainly, I would like to say we could read it all the way through the grid, but when we have this many cars on track, it's fair to say we're going to need to extend the pace lap at that point. But what an absolutely beautifully scenic view as well. And certainly these guys, they have to go in the grid boxes. We'll see them. Certainly some of the marshals will be keeping an eye out for in the post-race review. But we're going to see here, you can see, actually, looking at that, I'd say that wouldn't be a legit start, but we'll see what happens. There's green, green, green. They are off, ladies and gentlemen. The pedal is to the metal, and what an absolutely fantastic field. You can already see cars moving around, jostling for position. Who's going to get it done?
Oh, no! That's Wager! Jonathan Wager spinning out of turn 2. Oh, yeah, there's another one there. Mitchell Green, John Ben-Walid, Mark Boyd, Clay Morris. Oh, dear. All right, well, at least it happened after the start-finish line this time.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a replay review job there. Absolutely huge gaggle of cars getting caught up. And certainly when you have this many cars on the grid, 46 cars, ladies and gentlemen, on the grid, I'm not in the slightest bit surprised. But let's have a look who we're on board with right now. Ladies and gentlemen, Joey Haynes, a master of a go-kart indeed. He's currently up in P10. And as I say that, let's see, he started in, well, he's up 5 places. He started in 15th, so good job there by Joey Haynes, surviving the race start and already moving his way up through the grid.
Indeed. Matt Adams and Michael Broomhead as well having big problems here on the first lap of this race. It looks like Adams has had a further issue there after trying his best to capitalize on his race one podium. Oh, wow, that's a big send indeed. The number 2 getting on past Rob Burgess right there. And, well, Matt Adams has to watch them drive off into the distance. He's got tons of damage.
I've got to admit, as much as I love Rob Burgess, that was definitely a send on that one. Maybe a little bit too late on the brakes on that occasion. But hey, he managed to get round and didn't manage to injure any cars in the way. But Richard Swindells is currently who we've got an eye on. And that, I believe, is his teammate ahead of him. So that has got to be Robert Ridgway. Indeed it is. Christian Gritz goes right behind, applying pressure. So I've got to say, for an older fella, Swindells doing quite good. Currently up 1 position and doing what he can to try and make his way into the top 10.
There's more crashes out on the circuit. Benvalid and Young, it looks like, have had some problems as well, but good lord. It doesn't matter where you look, there's something going on here. That's Benvalid spun coming out of turn 2 there, same spot that all the chaos happened on the race start. He does find a little bit of a gap to get back going, but that's an awful lot of damage there for the number 8. Zach Buchanan currently leading this race from Joshua Peters. And the battle for the lead is quite close. In fact, everyone in the top 5 rather close indeed. Buchanan out of the hairpin. Nice exit. But Peters is sticking with him. And it looks like a good run from Andrew Hardman behind there in the white car. He's going to be going for it on Marshall Crocker.
Well, certainly last round's race winners in this heat not having as much luck. Both Adams and Benvalid leading the pro and amateur championships respectively heading into this round, and both of them getting caught up in incidents. So certainly not what they had in mind, but it's fair to say you win some, you lose some. As we see Marshall Crocker Jr., he's currently in a little bit of a fight, currently sat there in P5 with Racine Fazui right behind him in P6. Now Racine obviously won that first round, the sprint race. Can he repeat that success? He's already got pressure behind him as well of Ozzy Milwain, certainly not a slouch. Tyler Barbosa as well. All of them are getting close in on the action. Crocker Jr. is going to be feeling the pressure.
Yeah, certainly is. Crocker, of course, winning the sport category in race 2 of Sebring, so he's definitely got potential for some really strong results here. He's currently running 2nd in that secondary class though, so need to wait and see what he can do to hold off Racine Fazui, just coming off the win in race 1. Well, it seems like once Fazui gets out to the front, he doesn't have anyone ahead of him. He's nigh uncatchable, but he's been having a bit of trouble finding his way past people here.
Well, certainly it takes more than just being able to set a fast lap. You've got to have the racecraft as well, and I absolutely 110% believe in this gentleman here, and he's made another lovely pass. This time it's on Marshall Crocker Jr., but you can see Crocker Jr., he's certainly got the draft, and I got to see a very Canadian livery, loving the play there from Crocker Jr. Absolutely fantastic big job. And you see here, even in the draft, the team is doing everything he can, very defensive there, making sure not to cut so close to the wall, making sure not to get a slowdown there as they go through the chicane next to the wall of champions. You can see more cars further back. Looks like Kevin Norris in the background as well, trying to have a little bit of a battle with Joey Haynes.
Yeah, indeed. Norris at the moment holding on to that 9th place and up 7.
Hello, this is Mark.
It was definitely on the previous
Here we go,
lap.
we're back.
Yeah, I'm not too I'm not too sure what's going on at the moment, Zippy, for Racine Fazui. He seems to be having some trouble not only finding his way forward, but avoiding slowdowns as well, it seems.
Oh, absolutely. Racim's certainly going to have to work hard. I do apologize. It looks like the voice software we were using did basically well, I can't say that, but it's fair to say it's working again now. Well, let's just go with that, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue in this battle here with Racine Fazui trying to make his way through the grid. Now, he started P10. He's already made his way up to P6. Looks like Crocker Jr. has managed to sneak his way back ahead of him, but for how long? Again, it's great to be able to post a fast lap and get out in clean air, but this is where the work really has to be done. It is a different test, and you can already see Racine closing onto the back of Crocker Jr. Crocker Jr. did an absolutely fantastic job fighting this guy. In terms of iRate, Racine is rocking nearly 8,000 IR. Crocker Jr. is certainly no slouch either, just under 3,000. It really is a clash of the titans as they go around the hairpin.
Absolutely, they do. The AM leader, still Diego Zuccarelli there in the red car at the bottom of frame, but he's getting caught by Milwain and Fazui now. Rasim's main problem was he cut the inside of turn 1 a little bit too much on the previous lap, so unfortunate for him. He's probably going to find his way past somehow here. It looks like that was a problem there for Milwain, taking a bit too much of the curb in the final chicane, and Fazui is going to move through to 5th.
Well, certainly as well. I was getting a little bit worried there. It looked like there's going to be 3 or 4 cars alongside as they headed down into turn 1. And last time that happened, cars got hurt. But it's good to say Racine making his way through. As I see, what's going on? What are you seeing, Riz?
The lead is on. Zach Buchanan got caught up behind the lapped car of Ivan Langeveld, and that has brought our top 3 completely together. Joshua Peters stood half a chance of making his way past Buchanan, but Zach was very defensive coming into the first of our chicanes here on this track. But there's plenty more to come in this top 3 battle, I'd wager, as behind things are starting to get a little leery as well. It seems like Langeveld has had a bit of an effect on the running order in this top 10.
Well, certainly lap traffic is something else to keep in mind, and keeping in mind as well. So currently the top 3 are running together, but then it's about 1.5 second back to Zuccarelli, 1.5, 1.6 seconds. You can see that red car. He's got the prize inside the top 3, and even then the whole top 10, not all of them, but the majority of them in drafting distance, and it looks like Peters is going to get a good run here. Buchanan on the defensive as they're going to go through the chicane. Buchanan doing everything he can. He's probably going to get a slightly slower exit there. All of them using as much of the track as they can, but the more he defends, the more he's going to basically back up the field into the rest of the cars. You can see further back, they're already starting to gain in on there. Buchanan working very hard on the defense, doing everything he can. Peters, not only that, has Hardman behind him applying pressure.
Yeah, this is super intense. I'm loving this. Joshua Peters making a fantastic run up through the field in race 1. Remember, Peters started in 20th place for the first race tonight. Worked his way all the way up to 10th, and so gave him pole for race 2. And he's held on to a strong position in this race and could still come away with the win if things go his way. Meanwhile, Brady Clapham setting the fastest lap so far, 1 minute 30.7. I want to highlight as well, Arnaud he was unfortunately caught up in that incident in race 1 and finished all the way down the order. He is up 24 positions now. He's found his way up to 14th. It's just crazy, the run that Arnaud Genest has had. Looks like we've lost Daniel Blanco, though. It seems like he's probably succumbed to the issues that he suffered earlier on that lap 1 all 2 crash.
Well, certainly, if you get in an accident here, it is fair to say, especially with a grid of this size, it will have more severe repercussions. And the grid as well, very, very tightly packed together for the most part. I mean, just looking at the timing screen, Reece, it's hard to say where the best battles are because they're happening all over the track and all over with our competitors. I can see at least 4, 5, 6 battles happening as it stands. My sympathies for our director here, trying to pick out the best ones for us to cover. As you can see here, Andrew Hardman as well. He's still very much in that fight. Actually, just going to make his way past Joshua Peters. He takes the P2 spot.
Yeah, he made his way past Peters because Peters had the slipstream on Buchanan coming into the final chicane, and they ended up making side-by-side contact, which sent Peters off and grabbed him a slowdown. So Peters is trailing off the back of our new top 2 as things stand. I remember what you said about all of these cars in this field and having trouble focusing on them. I mean, with the lead battle being the way it is, I find it difficult to tear my eyes away from these top spots.
Well, certainly, and at the end of the day, the lead battle is going to be where it's at because everybody is here for, well, a couple of reasons, but the main reason being they want to drive that real radical race car. And I can't say I blame them. I've been firsthand alongside these cars. I've got to see some of the engineering involved and get to see them live at the track. And it's fair to say they are an absolutely incredible machine.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic cars that Radical creates here, and they produce really good racing, as you can see, even in the virtual world. Well, Joey Haynes up into 9th now, and position gifted a couple of ways ahead. Marshall Crocker Jr. still definitely finding his way nicely up through this field, as Zuccarelli's going to lose a position to Milwain just about. No, that's Milwain losing positions. What's going on for Ozzy Milwain?
I'm not entirely sure, but certainly, if you fall back quickly, you will feel it. Maybe call up a slowdown, perhaps. Interesting to see as not only that, the quality just got better on my end. I can see much clearer now, and Jerry Haynes currently sat there in P8 doing a fantastic job so far. He's currently up 7 spots. The guy ahead of him, Marshall Crocker Jr., down 5, but remember, we did have that invert grid, so certainly as well, you got to try and hold on as long as you can. Certainly in a field of such talent, it's fair to say they've got their work cut out for them.
Yeah, I'm loving this 4-way battle here. Joey Haynes trying his best to get back up to Marshall Crocker, and well, we have Caven Norris in the midst of all of this as well. Caven is doing magnificently, I have to say, up 10 places. He took great advantage of the issues from before, as up the inside goes Ozzy Milwain on Joey Haynes. Love seeing these guys battle in many series here at BIS. For now, Milwain's got it, but we'll see if Crocker will be able to get some breathing room with that little bit of side-by-side. Seems like the slipstream's a bit too strong for that.
Well, if I'm not mistaken as well, Milwain and Haynes are indeed on the same team, so there may have been a little bit of team orders there. And you can already see Milwain is applying pressure to Crocker, and I don't think he's going to get done by one. I think he's going to get done by both of these guys. They're going to be keen, and it looks like they're going to go for it. Poor old Crocker is going to get pretty much a train run on him by the pair of these guys. Able to hold on to one, but for how long? You can see there, had to compromise his line slightly, and Haynes absolutely looking to get ahead. He's got it on the outside. Now he's going on the inside. Milwain's ahead, not quite able to get the nose in, but definitely applying a lot of pressure. Poor Crocker Jr. stuck in the middle of this teammate sandwich.
Yeah, he might leave the door open there. Looks like Joey Haynes has been careful with his execution of this fight. He hasn't been going for those big moves, but well, Crocker suffering a little bit on the corner exits from what I can see. We're still waiting on the pit stops for the majority of the field here. I do see one driver coming into the pits of Doug Meadows, and I think that might be our first scheduled pit stop of the race. Meadows in the back end of the top 30 as things stand, but nobody's decided to come in for that splash of fuel just yet.
Certainly, the pit strategy is a very interesting way. You could go a couple of different ways, and I do believe Meadows had a little bit of an incident earlier. I'm not quite sure when, but maybe just trying to make his way to the pit window, so at least that way he isn't paying twice. I believe these guys do get one fast repair, so as we got another battle going on, and it's Racine Fazui trying to make his way up through against Joshua Peters, so already making his way back up through the top 10. Very close action there. I thought there was going to be contact for a minute, but Fazui doing an absolutely fantastic job as he makes his way up to P2.
Absolutely he does. It's been a great run from Fuzui. Last time we checked in with him, he was he was behind Crocker, wasn't he? So yeah, it's been a massive gain for Fuzui now that we are past the halfway point of the race. I'm seeing a problem for Steven Sutherland as well. The number 70 has towed back to the pits. It's a shame for Sutherland. He was up 15 positions or something in race 1, wasn't he, Zippy?
He was certainly doing well. I think he may have had an incident near the end of the race. We'd have to check the results for sure. But certainly Steve Sutherland, I believe Mark Boyd, Kenny Reedman, all of these guys involved in Auto Eclectic. Now, I do know that Mark Boyd and Kenny Reedman do indeed run Real Radical SR3s, unless I'm much mistaken, as that was a car off in the background.
That's Burgess.
I was going to say, Robert appears to be stopping for a little bit of repairs there, and just at the edge of the track.
Yeah,
oh, dear.
That's a bit of a sorry-looking number 2, and it seems like the front suspension might not be doing him any favours either, so we'll see him make his way back to the pits at a reduced rate of knots. Seems like he already had that damage and is just struggling with understeer more than anything. Roberts had a bit of a rough go at it.
Well, certainly it can be difficult sometimes to transfer. I find more so, it's from what I'm hearing, is it's more challenging to go from real life to the sim. But we're going to put that on hold right now. It's Brady Clapham. He's in a good fight right now. Who's that right behind him? It's certainly Lima Racing, and I'm going to make an educated guess that that's Richard Swindell's. It is, the number 16 car. I'm not quite sure how old Brady is, but looking at the picture, not very old. So Richard Swindell's certainly heading towards retirement age at this point. It's keeping the young gun in check, and I know he's going to watch this back, and I know he's going to roast me for calling him an old man.
Absolutely. Well, there's plenty of roasting going every which way here at Pit Road Productions. Clapham, for now, is safe. I've just noticed what happened to Rob Burgess to get him in that position, and it's got something to do with an incident I was talking about before. Steven Sutherland towing back to the pits. Well, he was in front of Burgess coming out of turn 1 and spun it up ahead of him and had no choice but to be T-boned. That's why Burgess has his damage, and we see Sutherland in the lane.
It's fair to say it can certainly happen, and you know, again, very, very demanding to drive these cars. You know, you've really got to have 100% focus and to get the performance out of it that these guys do. You don't do that without a lot of seat time and a lot of experience. And here you can see as well, having a quick look at the team championship. So you can see Racine is currently out in front, but one to keep an eye on is AV Esports, ladies and gentlemen. So that's Milwain, Haynes, and I do believe there's a couple of them more as well. Lima Racing as well. You can see here Brady Clapham, he's rocking Lima Racing. Somebody to keep an eye out on, very well represented in the team's championship as he comes to the pits.
Yep, Clapham becomes the latest driver to move into pit lane. There's a whole flurry of activity in the pit lane at the moment. Buchanan is already away, so is Hardman and Mason. Looking to see if... no, Racine Fuzui did not pit on this lap. He's going to try and go for the overcut here, I think. And potentially, with no cars in front of him, he might be able to get a lovely fast lap in. No aero push from anyone if you're out there on your own. Well, the pit stops are complete for the majority of them, and Buchanan, Hardman and Norris are your top 3 who have pitted. George Griffiths is another car that's staying out for a little bit longer there in 10th place, but everyone behind him, save for Matthew Crimmy, John Benvalid and Matthew Mileman, have visited the pits at least once.
Well, certainly, if I was in the 58 machine, I would be enjoying the fact I've got some clean air now. He's already seen that he has the pace and he can capitalize on that. And the thing is, as well, if he pits early, he may come out into traffic that could indeed be a bit of a hindrance for him. As I say that, he's coming to the pits now. I don't know if it's fully tactical. You can see, sorry, Rob Burgess's car. You can see that just because it's missing the nose cone. Sorry, Rob. And actually, that looks like damage on the side of Fusui's car.
Yeah, it is, a little bit. I think it might have been a little graze of the wall on the exit of turn 5, I believe, or turn 4. That seems the most likely spot. Either that or it's contact with another car. The pit stop's already over there for Racine, and he is well away, 8.9 seconds. That's not the quickest pit stop we've seen so far. Actually, sorry, I was looking at it wrong. That actually is the quickest pit stop we've seen so far at 7.8 seconds for Racine Fazui. The timing screen changed on me at the last moment. Fazui's come out in second, though, behind Buchanan. We'll have to wait and see if his post-pit stop pace is anything to sneeze at.
Well, certainly, it's currently a 1.4 second gap between Buchanan and Fazui, and we know Buchanan can pilot these cars. Certainly, he's got pace. And another interesting thing to keep in mind as well is I felt sure that these guys had a fast repair, and regardless, it does appear that that damage is still on the side of Racine Fazui's car. Now, am I mistaken? I felt sure there was a fast repair available.
I can't confirm or deny as things stand, but we're thinking the answer might be no. Fazui, regardless, doesn't seem to have had his pace hurt by that slight bit of damage. If it was on the very front of the car, then yeah, I'd probably try to get it repaired. But if it's on the side, it's not really affecting the aero all that much.
Oh, that's fair to say, and I think I may be getting confused with the BiS F1600 series. Please forgive me, ladies and gentlemen, but certainly it's good to see it as well. It's certainly not hurting his pace. Well, I say that, the gap was 1.3 seconds, and Buchanan has actually pulled away 2 or 3 tenths on that, so it'll be interesting to see if Buchanan can hold on to this lead.
Yeah, I think outlap in general for Racine Fazui. Wow, there's a lot of cameras there on the pit straight. Fazui's pace on the outlap, probably still getting used to the heavier fuel load, and give him a couple of laps and he'll get right back into the rhythm. I mean, he seemed to be catching Buchanan before the pit stop cycle. We'll have to wait and see what this lap is like, though. This will be Fazui's first out-and-out hot lap since taking that fuel load. 1 minute 30.9 from Buchanan is what we need to keep an eye out for.
Well, as I say that, it looks like that gap has indeed shaved, not just by a little bit, but by a lot. 7 tenths of a second, ladies and gentlemen. So Fazui is now in a position where he will be getting a beautiful draft off the back of Buchanan's Radical. And I think at this point, it's just a matter of time. But we know Buchanan, he's not exactly just going to give Fazui a wave round. He's going to have the elbows out. As who was that was broken down on the side of the road? They've just reset to pits. It may have been Matthew Crimmy there. I believe I do have a crash warning for him.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and then he's pit. So Matthew Crimmy there, the dead car on the side of the road, as you see Buchanan and Fazui making their way down towards the chicane.
All right, this will be about where Fazui's getting the maximum benefit of the slipstream, and look at how deep he goes under brakes. He's carrying so much momentum into the final chicane there, and I think that might be where he picked up his damage earlier. He's been pushing so hard through the final chicane, probably brushed the wall of champions in the process. Have a look at that time, though, from Fazui. 1 minute 30.24. That's only 0.02 of a second slower than his fastest lap of the race, which is the fastest lap of the race. Zach Buchanan's in trouble.
It's fair to say he's definitely going to have to put his elbows out if he wants to hold on to the top spot of the podium. And I do believe Fazui is just, honestly, he's signing the Wall of Champions, albeit in a little bit more of an unconventional method. Buchanan is going to have to do everything he can to hold on. The other interesting part is, as well, generally, if you fight, it will slow you down, but they have about a 5.4 second gap behind them. Is this going to be where we see Fazui make the move? He's certainly close enough, under 0.2 of a second. Is he going to make the move? He looks to put the car up on the inside, just puts a nose in, but not quite able to get it done.
Zach Buchanan on the exits, all the exits for this lap so far, he's been struggling for traction. That's where Fazui is starting to make up the time, and it also seems that Fazui is way more confident on the entry into the corners as well. You see how he's just standing on the front end and getting it into the apex. Beautiful to watch. Buchanan, no surprise to see he's flashing the lights there. He sees some lap traffic ahead of him in the form of Nick Polliard. It's a bit of distance to them, but I don't know if they'll be able to find their way past cleanly with how intense this battle is getting. See how Fazui is committing so early to the curbs there, and he's carrying the momentum all the way through the corner. He's going to go for it at turn 1.
Well, you can see Buchanan is certainly trying to stay, he's going over to the left a little bit, but it's fair to say Fuzui is alongside, and Buchanan's going to have the inside for turn 2. He's going to get a bit of a slower exit. Is it going to be enough for Fuzui to make a move as they head down this next right-hander and through a chicane? More lap traffic ahead. Is there going to be an issue? You can see Fuzui right on that rear wing. Both of these drivers working hard. We can get a TV cam. There we go. The lap traffic just ahead. How is this going to influence the battle? Not only that, Jonathan Wagertert goes and sets the fastest lap with a 1:29.985, 2 seconds faster than these two guys out front. Sorry, 1 second.
Yep. Oh, there we go. Fuzui's up the inside. Will Buchanan give him the room here? Fuzui gets in there. Room is given, but Buchanan still has the lead. Great, respectful battle between these guys. Loving it.
Well, these guys are going to be holding on, and certainly they both want to get it done cleanly. The stakes are high. That lap traffic getting ever closer. Fuzui looking to make a move up on the inside, not able to get it done. Buchanan's wide on exit. Fuzui struggling for traction there. As you see, a little bit of a tail waggle there from Buchanan as well. That lap traffic further up the field, and it does appear to be more than one as they're heading down towards the chicane. There is 3 laps to go. Buchanan just has to hold on as they come into the close of the 17th lap. Racine looking to go on the outside. He's going to have a much better line. Buchanan defends. Racine again, huge confidence in there. The lights flashing, 3 cars ahead. Everybody, Buchanan is coming.
John Benwillid, the first to pull over there. Benwillid down in 25th place. And then there's Polliard and Chad Payton as well. These are all drivers that are outside the top 25, top 30 as well. Yeah, no wing. That's Ivan Langeveld, who was causing a bit of trouble for our leaders earlier on, and look at how close they are now. This is super tight quarters here, Zippy. Oh, into the back they go. Buchanan gets tapped. Had to slow down for the lap car. Fuzui, I don't think, was quite aware. And oh no, it's gotten worse. Buchanan's lost his rear end. As coming through was Joshua Peters to try and retake second. He wasn't quite sure where Buchanan was going.
Honestly, at that point, I think a reset may have been on the cards. I mean, I can't fault him. He wanted to get back in that battle as quickly as possible. Certainly not what Racine wanted to happen either. Let's take a quick look here at the replay. So Buchanan's having to lift off with the lap traffic. Racine's not seen it. There's a car in the way. Not much he can do. You can see Buchanan trying to get going again, and then, it gets another bonk. And as he's trying, he's doing everything he can. But at this point, really, he's a paperweight, and then backing up into traffic. I wouldn't say that was advised. I would have honestly just got out the way and reset the car. I sympathize, but at the end of the day, at that point, he is brown bread.
Yeah, I think Fuzui was expecting Buchanan to try and go to the outside, but I mean, it's just 2 close quarters. I understand the desire to carry as much speed as possible, but I think Racine could have afforded to be a little more aware of what was going on ahead of them there.
Yeah, certainly. It's definitely easily done. I don't think it was malicious by any means, and I can see in the chat that he was apologetic, and understandably so. But looking at the order now, that's going to open it up for Joshua Peters. Actually, speaking of Joshua Peters, we have a battle happening between Peters, Hardman, and Norris. So these 3 cars you can see all in your picture, all fighting for the podium. One of them will not get to stand upon it. Who's it going to be?
I think the man who's probably not going to stand on the podium is Joshua Peters, I'm sorry to say, because remember, he ran into Zach Buchanan as Buchanan was recovering from his spin, and so now Peters has some damage on the front end. I don't know if it's going to be affecting his handling all that much, but there was definitely a hit, and man, I can't help but think how Zach Buchanan will feel coming out of this race. He was on course to win, and through no fault of his own, gets completely taken out of the running. So it leaves these guys open to try and fight for the final spot on the podium. And look, it's lap traffic again, having a big effect. It's Benwillid again here, but Benwillid's been respectful in letting them go. He's going to pull all the way to driver's right and let these 3 continue on their battle. Peter's trying to snatch some slipstream off Nick Polliard and go defensive against Andrew Hardman, who you got to say is charging hard.
Absolutely. I got to say, John Benvalid as well, very, very supportive of BIS. He regularly hosts practice sessions. We never ask him to do it, but he's done it for a couple of seasons now. As you see, Kevin Norris looking to make a move on the outside. He doesn't just go for one, he goes for two. And I got to say, a bit of a send, but it looks like it's paid off.
Nice.
Huge move there. Hardman and Peters, you buy one, you get one free. That is the Norris way of doing it.
Slow clap for Kevin Norris, man. That was opportunistic to the max, and he really made that work. And it was clean as well. No contact resulting. I think Peters would have been taken by surprise, but he left just enough room for Kevin Norris to get through. That is exactly the kind of racing we like to see.
It was definitely, for lack of better words, it was a pretty baller move. And I got to say, I don't know if I would have gone for it myself. Sometimes at the highest level of competition, you have to take risk. And it's fair to say that was definitely a risk. And we do know Peters has a bit of damage there after having a little bit of a shunt. But I do wonder, is Norris going to be able to run away from it now? We know the guy has pace, but certainly Peters and Hardman, after a move like that, they're not going to be keen to just give it away. Let's have a look here. Reese, talk us through it.
Yeah, so Norris sees the door open here, and Hardman has to leave him space. Hardman then gets caught up behind the number 4 as he's on the brakes early and tight through turn 1. And Norris says, okay, the door's still open. I'm going to go for it around the outside of 1, make it work up the inside of 2. And there he is. And it's the checkered flag, actually. We've been caught completely by surprise. Fuzui crossing the line ahead of these guys, and Kevin Norris taking second spot. So Fuzui is your winner, but in circumstances that he wouldn't find ideal. Potentially, the stewards will be taking a look at that incident between himself and Zach Buchanan. But still, that's Fuzui's second race win of the season. Third of the season, and second tonight. And he should have enough points in hand to be the round winner out of this one. Matthew Murphy trying to find his way back past here. A little push to the line there on Tyler Scarali, and they only crossed the line a few hundredths of a second apart.
Well, it does look like maybe a battle going on a little bit further back between Nicholas Calander as well and Phil Niels. It was going on a little bit closer. It was down to about a few tenths of a second as, running a little bit deep there, I got to say, from Phil Niels. And certainly, actually, the way he's driving, it doesn't seem like he's fully committed at this point. He's not yet crossed the line, so I'm not quite sure what he's doing at this point. The 1-2-3 car doing his own little 1-2-3. And definitely running to the own little beat there. He's got Tyson Barbosa behind him. I wonder if he's run out of fuel.
Yeah, you never know. He might have. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you see that? Fourth gear, car choking. Goodness me. Hopefully he gets to the line.
Well, I got to say, Reese, certainly it's something we'd have more on our sister channel, Slow Motion Broadcasting, but whenever a driver runs out of fuel, it's become a thing where we say that they have won, indeed, the Thompson Trophy. And it's fair to say that while we didn't have many competitors in this final race, Phil Niels is definitely looking like he's going to get the Thompson Trophy. However, if he makes it to the line, I don't believe that qualifies. And it's fair to say he's pretty close. At this point, you almost think he needs a shove. And you do wonder as well, Reese, is this part of the track uphill or downhill? Because I believe, looking at the perspective, it isn't downhill. I believe he's trying to make his way up. And he's not going to make it.
Oh, no. It's very difficult to sense elevation change at this track. It's built on a man-made island, and it's pretty flat around a lot of this track. But yeah, I think the start-finish straight might be slightly uphill. There's the start-finish line. It's right there for Phil, and I think he might just be able to make it. Just needs to wait a little longer. Oh, come on, Phil. We're behind you. There's the start-finish line right there. You know what, Zippy? I think he's going to make it.
I gotta be honest, it is the slowest race finished I've ever seen on Pit Road Productions, but I gotta say, Phil now, he's made it. The crowd's going wild.
Woo! Awesome.
Yeah, you know what it was? He just wanted to savor the moment, Reese.
Yeah.
I believe as well, this next gentleman will indeed savor the moment. I see that we've got a few people waiting for interviews. Rasim Fazuri is going to be the one I'm going to try and grab next. When our director's ready, by all means, give us a shout. Let us know. I don't want to drop that bombshell on you. Certainly just drag him into the channel. But okay, we're going for it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a chat here with our race
sorry.
For one race, 2 races. Racine Fazui. Now, I gotta say, you're certainly somebody who I've seen around before. I do know that you do driver coaching and you work on these cars. I've seen you in some of the videos. I think it may have been for Swelio, if I'm not mistaken. But fair to say that you've had a pretty good evening here at BiS Radical Canada Cup.
Yep. A pretty good evening. Just spoke with Zach. We're all good. Even Zach said it was the back markers ahead. Like, oh man, we both wanted to deliver such a good finish for the stream, for everybody. Also, us together side by side, we always respected each other, gave each other room. Uh, it's uh, it's a corner that I would expect throttle or at least a lift, but breaking past apex at that corner is just. Even Zach got shocked, and when Zach got shocked, I got shocked by the accordion effect, and it's the second weekend in a row that I get brake checked. So I don't, I don't know what to do, but I know how to improve from this. Just gotta check replays and onboards from everybody to learn their inputs at every corner. Usually, what I do when I see back markers is I evaluate their grip level through the sections when they're a second, 2 seconds ahead, how fast I catch them, and then I evaluate. Given that, I lifted before the corner, and as I lifted. Then we braked, and I was like, "Oh, we're braking." I was gonna get back on power, and I just it turned Zach around. So yeah, bittersweet feeling, but happy to have a good weekend this weekend, and I'm looking forward to the next ones.
Oh, absolutely, and I can't fault you as well. I mean, I know that Buchanan will fight hard, but it's good to see that you guys are certainly at peace with that. Certainly, it's a high stakes environment, and now, like I was saying, I know that you've coached radicals, and I'm pretty sure you've driven them as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that very quickly? By all means, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm felt sure that you've driven these in real life. Certainly, I don't know if it's an SR10 you've driven. I think it's an SR3 probably, but tell us a little bit about how it is to drive one of these in person, and if not, work on them.
And so driving these cars is a myth. That's why I'm racing this because I want to drive one. However,
Oh, okay. I
uh,
believe you could do it. You have so much talent. I figured you'd already done that. But by all means, tell us. I know that you do coaching. I've seen you on video.
yeah, yeah. So I've coached. So for the whole of 2023, I've coached at Rice Spec. For half of 2023, I coached at Rice Spec and SR3s
Mhm.
last year as well. Coach Swelio since his run at CTMP almost 2 years ago. I've been around him on and off the sim. Very, very cool guy. He's a sponge. He learns so much, so fast. I'm happy for his championship. It was a very hard-fought championship, especially our first few rounds, like Sebring and Barbara. We really had to get up the pace. I also did some setup work with Team Stradali. Um, and yeah, those cars, it's all about playing with the weight, but also understanding the car's stiffness. Once you understand both, either as a driver or as a setup maker, you realize that even if they're single seaters and they're pretty similar to open wheeler, they have a little bit of touring car slash LMP3 DNA. I think it's fun to drive on iRacing. In real life, it's a monster, especially to see them go around, for example, Coda and everybody sideways out their hairpins. It's amazing. So yeah, no, radicals are definitely very, very cool track toys and bespoke race cars.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. This gentleman has had the pleasure and the thrill of working with it, and we can see now why he is so motivated. Swelly, I've got to admit, I feel he should, I'd say toss you the keys, but these things don't have keys. But certainly, I will put in a good word for you on that behalf, regardless. Certainly, we know you've got the talent, but Rasim, great job today. Certainly, an unfortunate incident there with Buchanan, but I'm glad that you guys got that sorted out, and congratulations on winning both of this evening's races. Well done. Well done. Such a huge field as well.
Yep, thank you. I just want to shout out Rogue, iRacing, Pit Road Productions, Advanced Sim Racing, VPX Motorsport. As I should mention, I am a Porsche GT4 engineer for them. But I also want to engineer radicals because I have a sweet spot for radicals. And I also want to give a shout out to my family, my dog, and my girlfriend, as always. And shout out to everybody on the field. Shout out to Zach for very good, clean racing, and everybody who was ahead. I know Matt and Mitchell, I believe that's his name, had an unfortunate incident after T2. But I was not part of it this time, so I'm happy. I avoided that one. I just couldn't avoid the second one. So on to Donington for hopefully a clean race all across.
Well, certainly it'll be one of my favourite tracks, but I got to admit, I did have an input on the track rotation, so it's fair to say there's a biased opinion. But ladies and gentlemen, Racine Fazuri, your race winner, not just once, but twice tonight. Well done.
Thank you, thank you.
Well, Reese, I do understand you have been able to catch up with Caven Norris.
Yeah, indeed, man, Caven. What an interesting night for you. I mean, your run up through the field. You put both races together. I think you probably have the most positions gained over the course of the night. 27th in qualifying for race one. How did that feel?
Ooh, yeah, so exciting. I'll be honest with you. I didn't really have the pace from the guys in front. What really paid off, I think, was like I didn't do many mistakes. I did a couple during the sprint race. I totally locked up the wheels and in the airpin, so that was totally my bad. I'm sorry about the one that I hit, but yeah, I did a great run after that, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with my finish. That's for sure.
As you should be, especially with that brilliant move to get P2 driving around Peters and Hardman at the first couple of corners there in race two. Talk us through that move, because it seemed like, you know, there was a little bit of trust involved in that as well on Peters' part to give you that room.
I know that these guys drive so well. They look all around, and I know I saw an opportunity opening in front of me, and I was like, I'm gonna try for it, and I'll see what it's gonna do. And I mean, it paid off. So
Excellent stuff. Well, I mean, you must be happy with finishing second in such a competitive field in such a brutal race as that, and hopefully the rest of the season goes just as well for you, Caven. Thanks very much for joining us.
thank you very much.
All right, the 774 of Caven Norris finishing second in style here today. And, well, now we can turn our attention to our AM class winner, Zippy. It seems Diego Zuccarelli is with us.
Hello, everyone.
You do the honors on this one, Reese, because the gentleman coming in next, I definitely want to have a word with. So by all means, take the
All
wheel,
right.
sir.
Fair enough, fair enough. Tell you what, Diego, you were right up the top of the AM field the whole way through that event. Certainly would have been difficult at the back end of the top 10, especially with how close the pace was.
Yeah, surprisingly, it was quite competitive, and the word of the day for me was surviving, because, yeah, I mean, it's Montreal, so like anything can happen. Lots of walls and lots of traffic, a lot of cars on track. But yeah, like I was just trying to stay with the front pack, and I had like a few guys coming up on me, of course, and I didn't want to be on the way on holding them back, so I kind of make way for them, and yeah, that seemed to give me like enough edge to not to have to push over my limit, and just try not to make mistake and avoid accidents.
Yeah, well, it's a really good turnaround from round one at Sebring, where you unfortunately didn't score. So yeah, I think the AM Championship coming out of this round is certainly going to be a bit more jumbled up, and you look like you're in contention.
Yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't make it at all. Like on week one, for other things happening that day, and I almost missed this one lap to today. I wasn't sure if I was able to make it, but I managed to have like some time to put down like some practice, especially during this past week, and yeah, just to try and be ready in case I was able to make it. But I did, and so I'm happy. I'm happy with the result.
Yeah, as you should be, Diego. Congratulations, and hopefully we can speak to you after Donington next week.
I'm looking forward to it, hopefully. Thank you.
All right. In a fortnight's time, we'll be seeing Diego Zuccarelli potentially working his way forward once again. Zippy, looks like you have a very special guest with us here today.
Well, I'm not sure if he's actually here or not. I see he's in the interview waiting room, so I've pulled him in. It's, ladies and gentlemen, it is the president of Radical Canada East. It's Mr. Rob Burgess, who currently has his microphone muted. Here we go, Rob. Welcome back. Definitely not the race you were looking for in the sim, but you know what? We're not going to focus on that because I really want to hear about how it was at Yas Marina for you. Tell us a little bit about that firsthand.
Yeah, well, firstly, thanks for interviewing me, guys. And yeah, the sim race didn't go the way I wanted, but it's all right because I had an amazing race at Yas Marina for the Radical World Finals. And I managed to win the 1340 class, and the event itself was just spectacular. 32 radicals on the grid representing 16 different countries. And Yas Marina is just an unbelievable facility. And, you know, and also the event, you know, Radical did such a good job putting it on. It was really first class all the way.
Well, first class is something that you are definitely going to be familiar with. Not only didn't you win the whole, like you didn't just win like the class, you won all 3 heat races as well and secured the pole. Like, I'm sorry, is second not good enough? I mean, that's certainly, you know, you absolutely, for lack of a better word, stuck it to the competition. And I got to say, in a car of such pedigree and at a competition at such a level, that is absolutely fantastic. But I just want to say as well, Rob, I do really appreciate your support here over at BiS, at Pit Road Productions, for helping us put this on. And certainly we got to see last year Ozzy Milwain and Zach Buchanan get behind the wheel of a real radical race car. I believe it was an SR3. And certainly you would probably be the best man to give us this comparison. But when you get into a real race car, tell us a little bit about the stuff that you feel that you don't get in the sim. For instance, I'm thinking like the G-forces, for example.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the one thing about a Radical is it's an extremely visceral driving experience. So, you know, with the open top, you're kind of feeling the you know, the wind around you, and you're hearing the engine, you know, it's spinning at 10,000 RPM. And then, yeah, you mentioned the G-forces. So you're up to 2.5 Gs laterally, you know, up to 4 Gs under braking. So it's just a very, very visceral kind of raw driving experience. And yeah, obviously you don't really capture that in the sim. But you know, this sim series, this is now the 3rd year that I've run this series. And it's been fabulous to see a lot of our real life radical drivers like Kenny Reitman and Mark Boyd and Brady Clapham, you know, come out and race in it. And, you know, Radical is really heavily involved in sim racing. And obviously we work closely with iRacing to get the SR10 in this, you know, on this platform. And there's a number of other series in sim racing using Radicals. And, you know, obviously we worked closely with Suelio Almeida this year in his transition from sim racing into real life radical racing. And then he won the 1340 class in the Radical Cup North America Championship. So that just shows you, you know, that people can go from being sim racers to radical owners to racing champions.
Absolutely, and I got to say, Suelio is somebody who I have cheered for since day one, and certainly the round at Sonoma was certainly, it wasn't just a racing experience, it's something that kind of tugged on the heartstrings a little bit. Certainly, it was a different kind of battle, and I got to say again as well, a huge thank you to you, Rob, as well, certainly as well. You know, for supporting BiS, supporting Pit Road Productions, and for not only that, making it possible for us to do this. I mean, you're the gentleman who basically you give these guys an opportunity to drive a real one. And even for Racine, for example, I was actually quite surprised he hadn't driven one yet. I feel Suelio, you know, Suelio, let him in your car, dude. Give him a couple of laps or something. But certainly it's good to see Racine here. And certainly, I mean, this is, you know, having watched Suelio, for example, like, the more I watch Suelio, the more I think if he'd done this like a couple of years younger, we would be seeing him in the seat of like a world, well, Radical is world class, but, you know, like, you know, a more televised, like Formula One, for example. You know, he has the skill, he has the talent. And I find as well, you know, that the more I look about these radicals and stuff, I mean, first off, I'm from the UK and I love the fact it's designed and engineered in the UK. That just makes me happy. I mean, there's not too many reasons to be proud for being British, but this is definitely a good one.
Definitely.
And if anybody asks, you know, oh, do you eat a lot of like crumpets and tea? You know, no, we make radical race cars. That's why I'm proud to be British. But certainly, you know, it's one of these cars that, I mean, in terms of race car expense as well, if you look at something like an LMP3 and LMP2 on price point, if my understanding is correct, the Radical is an absolutely phenomenal buy in comparison. Rob, maybe you can expand on that a little bit for me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Radical Racing is designed to be somewhat accessible. Racing is never cheap, but the Radical offers tremendous value. There's a metric we use, which is kind of lap time per dollar, and really nothing beats a Radical. They are a super fast race car with, that race in very competitive championships. But the costs, are relatively reasonable compared to lots of other types of racing. And that's the reason Radical is the world's largest race car manufacturer. And that's the reason there's, Radical Cup series in 14 countries around the world. And, the reason why events like the Radical World Finals exist. And it's all about trying to keep the costs manageable so that people can go racing. And I mean, you can buy a good used Radical for as little as $40,000. And then there's lots of club racing championships that you can run, on a relative shoestring budget. But then you can also buy a brand new SR10 like we just raced for $250,000 and then go race it, all over the world. So there's, we offer racing at a few different price points, but all of it is tremendous value.
Not only that, I do find as well, especially with the Radicals, it's competitive. I mean, it's basically a spec series, so you don't have to worry about that other guy showing up and having like 100 more horsepower. That's not how it works, and that is, for me, that's a lot of the appeal, because you want it to be a fair and level playing field, and I think Radical has done a fantastic job with that. But Rob, we're going to have to wrap this one up. Again, thank you so much for not just supporting BIS and Pit Road Productions, but what you've been doing as a whole. Certainly, I've had the pleasure of getting to talk to you on and off for a couple of years, and very friendly to deal with. And certainly, if anybody is in the market to look to get into racing, if you're unsure about it, speak to this gentleman here. He's proven he's got the talent. I mean, 14 countries across the world, the best-selling race cars across the world. There's obviously a good reason for that. So if you're on the fence about, moving up, you're doing track days and stuff like that, if you don't want to buy one, I get it. That's okay. It's a bigger investment. Rent one. Rob can sort that out for you. Racine can coach you. The means are there, ladies and gentlemen. So, ladies and gentlemen, Robert Burgess, Radical Canada East President, and not only that, world champion in the Pro 1340 class. Thank you very much, Mr. Robert Burgess.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Have a good night. Bye.
Thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what a absolutely fantastic evening of entertainment, and it's great to have the man himself join us, and good to catch up with Rob. But Reese, any closing thoughts as we bring this to an end?
My closing thoughts are bring on Donington in 2 weeks' time, because we'll be going to another classic circuit for more fantastic racing in this series. I think, there are obviously still some kinks to be ironed out after the first round. There were some incidents there that, I found myself thinking there's probably a bit too many crashes for a longer second race. But hey, I'm looking forward to Donington. It's going to be open. It's going to be fast. It'll be bucking and diving all the way around the UK hills. Really looking forward to it.
Certainly Donington, one of my favorite tracks. I've had the pleasure of going there in real life. But you know what? We really probably should go over the actual full race results. Certainly, I don't see there being too many penalties. And if they are, it is what it is. I don't see anybody having any complaints. But here's the results as they stand so far. Obviously, we spoke with Racine Fazui. He was there in P1. Caven Norris took P2. Joshua Peters for Black Flag Motorsports. He took P3 with Andrew Hardman in fourth. Diego Zuccarelli taking fifth overall and the amateur class win. Joey Haynes and Ozzy Milwain take sixth and seventh. A good haul there for the team championship with Arno Gannett. He takes eighth. Marshall Crocker Jr., great job by him in ninth, and Christian Gritzko in 10th.
In 11th, Brady Clapham, 26 seconds behind and setting some very fast laps along the way. Scarali finishing in P12, 30 seconds behind the leader. Murphy and Wager, they had a lawful lot to go through on this race, particularly Jonathan Wager after starting so far up the front and ultimately losing it by himself behind a lapped car. Swindells finishes P15, a really good run from him. Griffiths, Ridgway, LaRocque, Covey and Boyd round out your top 20.
And that's another one of our real-life Radical drivers as we head to Nicholas Colander for Rust. There you go, Rust Racing. He's there in 21st with Tyson Balborough also joining the Auto Eclectic Motorsports Club. He's there in 22nd. Phil Nares with the absolutely most poetic race finish for Team Nike there in 23rd. John Benvalid, again, a very, very great person in this BIS community. He's there in 24th with Doug Meadows in 25th. Keenan Blades takes 26th, so back-to-back with Rap Force Racing. Wyatt Cormier in 27th for Mitchell Green in 28th. Mailman takes 29th with Zachary Buchanan, very unfortunately getting caught in that incident in 30th.
In 31st, Nick Polliard 2 laps down, and the same was true for Cedric O'Hyan, Chad Payton, and Matthew Crimmy, all drivers that suffered some kind of issue along the way and had to tour into the pits for damage. Langeveld, he soldiered on without a rear wing and finishes 4 laps down. Burgess, who we were talking to just a few moments ago, 5 laps down in 36th. Morris, Mason, Adams, and Sutherland rounding out your top 40. And then finally we get really into retirement territory with Cade Middleton, Daniel Blanco, Sam Trantopoulos not being able to get to the finish. 18 laps from the end, we lost Kenny Reedman and Kenton Young. Michael Broomhead was out first, unfortunately, in race 2, and CR Reed didn't take to the start in either of our races here tonight. Hopefully, we see a start from him next time out at Donington in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, I do believe CR has been having, it's not just himself that's a little bit on the season side. I believe his computer is indeed getting a little bit long in the tooth. But I got to say, that was an absolutely fantastic race. And it was great as well. I really enjoyed interviewing the drivers. I did actually have the pleasure of doing a grid walk at the 50th anniversary for Atlantic Motorsport Park. And I got to say, probably some of the most fun you can have as a commentator. The racing action is fantastic. We're getting to talk to the drivers. It's a whole other level. You know, you really get to connect with people and find out what motivates them, what matters to them, and what was going through their perspective as they did this race. But we probably should bring this broadcast to an end. And I've got to say, we're going to be seeing you next time at Donington. Wow, absolutely fantastic stuff, Reese.
Yeah, indeed, but the fun doesn't stop on Pit Road Productions. Next week is going to be the Summit Point round of the BISF 1600 Championship, so mark that date and time down in your calendar if you want to see some really intense Formula Ford racing at one of the first circuits that anyone drives when they get iRacing for the first time.
Well, definitely a very fun track, and we're going to see Donington GP as well the week after. Certainly a fun track indeed. BIS Pit Road Productions. If you want to see it, it's going to be on here. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining in. My name is Daniel Zippy Salmon. I've been one of the commentators with you tonight, joined by the one and only Reese Gardner and Christian Hill at the controls. So you've got the old furniture, you could say, here at Pit Road Productions, and it's fair to say it's been an absolutely fantastic show. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time here on Pit Road Productions.